Hi, Juan here with Político, a Spotify original from Anchor.fm, or now known as Spotify for podcasters. Do you want to make a podcast just like this one? Maybe better. I'll let you decide. It's easy and as simple, literally at your fingertips. If you go into your app store, you can download Spotify for podcasters, or you can visit the web browser at podcasters.spotify.com to start a free account today. With Spotify for podcasters, you will be able to upload your podcast to all platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and all the other platforms out there. You can also create video podcasts, which can be uploaded to YouTube or other streaming platforms. At the same time, you can create interactive phase for your fans. This is Q&As, polls, and even invite your fans through a link that would allow you to talk to them on a one-on-one podcast. With Spotify for podcasters, you can also earn money, including a podcast subscription and ads just like this one. All the best and totally free. There's literally not a catch. So since we found Spotify for podcasters, we have been working to make our podcast better every day, and I highly recommend it. If you want to start your podcast, definitely give it a try. Download Spotify for podcasters, the app, or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Right, hello everybody. This is Juan, and this is Político, a Spotify original podcast talking about politics and other stuff. So I have today with me Chad Thompson, and Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Juan. Thanks for having me on. I love it. You said politics and other stuff. I think that's pretty awesome because it kind of what we're going to talk about today is definitely other stuff. So my name is, as you mentioned, Chad. I'm a middle-aged, run-of-the-mill guy from suburbia, Midwestern Ohio. And I have worked my whole life. I have a family. I have kids. I don't do much but work and hang out with the family. I ran into the topic we're going to talk about tonight probably about 8 years ago. But outside of my unusual belief in flat Earth, I would argue I'm just a regular guy.
All right. I think I was talking earlier with a friend because I didn't know what questions to ask someone about flat Earth myself. I was like, damn, I'm doing a podcast and I don't know what kind of questions to ask. I told my friend, well, I'm gonna interview Flat Earth Chad. I was like, that's a perfect nickname for him, like for the podcast, because there is, I think his name is Bill, and he calls himself Flat Earth Bill. And he actually argues with people about the flat Earth on podcasts, but he's very vocal about it.
You might be talking about Flat Earth Dave.
Is it Dave? Yeah. Is it Dave? Okay, it's Dave then. It might be Dave. Yeah. Flat Earth Dave. He might be. I don't remember his name. I just knew it was something like either Bill or Dave. I know he argued with Bill Nye too, and I love that. I love that podcast.
Yeah.
Bill Nye.
I think I could be the Flat Earth Chad. It has a little better ring than Flat Earth Chad.
I like that. I like that. The Flat Earth Chad. So I have my first question here for you. I sent you the questions earlier, but as of right now you said it. Do you think the Earth is flat, and why? And then when did you find out this belief? Like when did you start believing the Earth was flat?
Yeah, so I, like everybody else in America, in the world probably, for the most part, went to primary school, and from jump they hit me with the world as a globe, and I remember in the fourth grade talking about it and the idea of gravity and us on a ball. That's really the first memory I have of the Earth is fourth grade, and she stood us up in around the edge of the class. And we all had to tilt or twist as we walked around the class to simulate the spinning, the rotation of the Earth, and then the movement around the sun. And I questioned how we stand on the ball, and the answer was gravity. That it was literally just gravity holds us down. And the teacher, bless her heart, was one of my favorite teachers of all time. But she said it with such confidence that I thought, oh, okay, well, she clearly knows and she's got it all figured out. And it's gravity. And like anybody else, even 10 years ago, if somebody had proposed the idea of flat Earth to me, I would have thought, I don't know what I would have thought, to be honest. It would have sounded like science fiction or just complete craziness, because I just, of course it's a ball. Of course we live on a ball. We've seen pictures. We've been to space. The scientists all know it. I mean, it's obvious. And to be honest, I didn't give it much thought after fourth grade. I mean, once they kind of, set the bar, you don't really think about it much. You don't investigate it too often. And I remember the first time I saw flat Earth was about 2015. I started to see it in the recommended videos of YouTube. And I think at first it didn't even dawn on me to watch a video about it, to be honest. But for some reason, I decided to one day, and I got to tell you, Juan, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought, oh my gosh, there may be something to this. And again, this was about 2015, late 2015. And, the idea of a flat Earth was so out there. But at the same time, I was very skeptical of our government. I was skeptical of mainstream news. I remember going back to the Iraqi war, and I could tell that even before we had any kind of confirmation, I knew there was no weapons of mass destruction. I was already hip to the lies and propaganda of our government. And so, I come from a background where, I didn't believe JFK was killed by a lone assassin gunman, and there was no cover up. And, I had these certain beliefs already. So all it's going to take for me is a little bit of logic and an awareness, and I will be ready to put it together and go where it takes me. Like, some people don't even want to go down the road of flat Earth. They couldn't even, I'm telling you, the sky could part and Jesus himself could come down and say the Earth is flat, and there would be people arguing with him. There's just the indoctrination that's put into our brains at such an early age. It's hard to overcome. Very similar to the last 80 years, cannabis has been propagandized, right? It's been an evil thing. Well, today it's a medicine, and it's it's a different story. But the old people who maybe might be older and remember that propaganda and grew up with it their whole life, that cannabis is a drug and it's evil, it's addictive, you're not going to convince them. It doesn't matter what people say. There's some level of, once you're indoctrinated, you're not going to move. I luckily was open-minded enough to, when I received the information and the knowledge, I was open enough to go where the evidence took me. I didn't hold on to dogma of, that's impossible. I actually, for probably 2 months straight, I watched nothing but flat Earth videos. And I got to tell you, today, if you and I started talking in the street and I said, Juan, I want you to go research flat Earth, I think you'll be amazed. And if you went and researched flat Earth today, all you're going to get, almost exclusively, is anti-flat Earth. This is propaganda against flat Earth. It sends videos to make flat Earthers look stupid. And of course the Earth isn't flat. This is why they believe it, but it's ridiculous. Well, I was lucky enough. When I found flat Earth, they had not censored the topic. And so I was getting real videos, real information. There was very few videos against it. It was just all information. And it's much different today. So, 8 years ago, I could tell you, go research flat Earth, and you could actually go research flat Earth. Today, you have no chance unless I send you a specific video or send you to a specific app. You're not going to get flat Earth information. You're getting anti-flat Earth information, that propaganda program. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of that when I look at YouTube. Actually, I did before this podcast episode. I took myself to YouTube for a little bit, and I wanted to see. I was like, okay, let's see what I can, what I can find on flat Earth and what I can discover. And quite oddly, it's like I'm a big believer of the phantom time theory, and oddly, when I also look at phantom time theory, all I see is phantom time theory videos, and flat Earth. All I saw was like people arguing with Bill Nye, or people arguing like with someone who believes in the flat Earth, or the crazy video, Logan Paul. As that was my second question into this, Logan Paul coming out supposedly of the flat Earth closet, as he called it, and then create this whole entire scheme, propaganda on oh my gosh, I'm a flat earther, and then another video comes 2 months, a month and a half later, and all you hear from him is, that's the stupidest shit I ever heard. I was just using this to gain followers and all that stuff. In 2017, he actually said that. And I was like, it's pretty much what you either find propaganda for, or you find some propaganda that is for anything that stands against. So it's completely against it. It's not really for it. And very little people that actually believe in it, you can find them. So it's weird, because the internet has slowly, as you mentioned, with cannabis, they have come so against it. It's awful.
Yeah. No, listen, anything that goes against the mainstream narrative gets censored. I mean, it's very much, they do it through private companies. So the government cannot, censor you as a citizen, but a private platform can censor you. And I think that we all know there's ties that's been proven now between our government and the social media platforms, and even the censorship guidelines and recommendations come directly from our government. So you have to be very selective with the information. I don't really trust very much that's handed to me in terms of news and information. I'm very skeptical and always want to look at different angles. And I don't think I'm a conspiracy nut, but I think I am old enough to be appropriately skeptical of the news I get and my government. If I was married for 18 years and every year someone's knocking on my door saying that they're having an affair with my wife, well, then I have a reason to be skeptical of her faithfulness, because that's what I'm being shown. And so, again, that's another topic, in this country, conspiracy theories, nuts, right? That's how they control our thoughts. The government is very smart. When I say the government, I don't know who is really controlling the big picture here, but clearly somebody is. And they don't, it's clear to me that they don't want you to find flat Earth and to know about it. It's censored. So I think you got to ask yourself why. If it's just some crazy crackpot theory, well, then it should just organically die out, and there's no need to censor it. But yet, it's very heavily censored.
It's kind of, not to compare it, but kind of a little bit like the birds are not real movement, where the media kind of want to censor it by making it look like it's a joke. And there's a good amount of people, literally hundreds of thousands, including Gen Zs, that think birds aren't real. And they go with it, but it's the flat Earth, I kind of feel that it's not the same, but it's the media puts more to censor the flat Earth than what they do with other movement like this, because they see this movement as a joke. But they're really putting so much into the flat Earth. I mean, which it was coming to my next question, Bill Nye, the science guy. He's been in plenty of podcasts talking to people about flat Earth, and in one of them, actually, what I was watching again before this podcast, he called two flat Earthers dumbasses. So it's he doesn't really believe it, but he's also been a very good use of propaganda over the years to say a lot of things about science that are have been proven slowly wrong. But because that's what they believe, he's being used as propaganda to make kids and other people believe that. And, nothing against Bill Nye. I love Bill Nye. I enjoy his show and everything. I learned pretty much a little bit of good and stupid stuff from him. But it's he goes now on podcasts, and that comes to my question. If you were to have an, argument or a debate with him, pretty sure he will probably turn to an argument if he decides to call you a dumbass, like he's called other people. Like what? How would you talk to him? How would you start a conversation related to flat Earth with Bill Nye, like someone who claims to be, all knowledgeable of science?
Right. I would really approach it in the sense that I would know I'm wasting my time. It's like, hey, you want to climb up this ice mountain with tennis shoes and see if you can get up to the top? I mean, here's the thing. Let's pretend 2 years ago, you asked me to debate, because 2 years ago, I would have told you I thought the Big Bang was not real. I would have told you I didn't believe in the Big Bang, okay? But 2 years ago, if we were to debate Bill Nye, he would have, I could not convince Bill Nye there's no Big Bang. Right? I just couldn't. There's nothing I could say. Again, there's just nothing I could say. He's not going to be like, you know what? That's actually logical. That makes a lot of sense. Let me think. No. Right? He's coming from a perspective of this is what it is, and that's it. It's just, these scientists and these science promoters are really just, they've memorized facts and they just regurgitate them. That's really what we're talking about here. They're not like scientists out here on the front line figuring stuff out. But here we go. And to be honest with you, 2 years ago, if I proposed the idea of the Big Bang not being real, it would have been looked at as crazy as flat Earth. And I know because I did it, and I see the reaction. Of course, how could you say the Big Bang's not real? I mean, there's the top scientists in the world argued and believe it. It's what are you, smarter than a scientist? You dummy. Well, here's the thing. Fast forward 2 years, and the James Webb Space Telescope has now thrown the Big Bang into complete chaos. And there's reason to believe that the Big Bang is not where the origination of all of our universe and solar system came from. There's evidence that it's that we now know. Any top physicist in the world today knows that we don't have all the answers because the Big Bang has been proven wrong. Just this year, I mean, this is new science that has thrown a theory that's almost 100 years old completely on its head. It's accepted as the Earth is ball. I mean, if everybody accepted the Big Bang. I mean, maybe some religious people didn't, but to be honest, they did it from a religious perspective. And had they not had that religious perspective, they would have bought right into the science like everybody else. The science. But that goes to show. That's my point being, the most accepted science that seems as concrete as the sidewalk can be flashed away like that. 2 years ago, I would have been a nut, and no matter what I would have said, there's no way I would have convinced Bill Nye the Big Bang didn't happen. At least when they say it happened. Well, here we are 2 years later, that's exactly the case. That's really my thoughts about the flat Earth. There's no way Bill Nye makes his living talking about the Earth and the system. You think he's going to just like, oh yeah, that makes sense? It's silly. It's silly. There's no way. I could, and listen, I debate a lot of ball earthers on Facebook. There's no ego gets involved. When you're trying to prove someone wrong, there's no convincing anybody of anything, right? It's, so, to answer your question, I'm not sure I'd have anything to say to Bill Nye. I mean,
I love you use the term bull earthers. It's like, I never heard that. I heard a flat earther term all the time. Yeah. I'm like, everybody else is just the normies. They think they're like normal people. It's like, no, I like bull earthers. Now I'm going to probably start using that with my friends too.
Yeah. There's two types of people in this world, man. There's flat earthers and those that know it.
So with that, we were talking about open-minded people. And, this lately we have a lot of what so-called, in quotation, open-minded people, but they don't believe in this movement for a reason. And we share the propaganda part and stuff. But this so-called open-minded people refuse to believe in this. You think Is there something more than the propaganda? Is it like the fear of something new? Is it the fear of having to accept then what they believe their entire life, what they thought their entire life is wrong? Or is it like just, I don't want to believe it, like screw it, I just think what I want to think? But how do you think is like, because they call themselves open-minded, but they're not really open-minded because they hear something like this and it's like, no, screw you, like this is not how it is. Or like, to be exact, like as you mentioned, you had a lot of arguments on Facebook with this specific topic, like, but these people are probably people that say that they're open-minded. What do you think, like, what it is causing them to be open-minded but not open-minded about this?
So, it's hard to say, and I'm sure there's, half a dozen answers. There's a lot of social pressure. I mean, to openly admit that you are a flat earther is one thing, but even to almost even to consider it as a, you're almost like a social pariah. The social pressure that society puts on people to stay in a little box and to not have more eyes on you than, or what people think of you is a big influencer. And that's a lot of ways that we as a society are influenced and controlled mentally. It's through social pressure. They can dictate what we think. They can get right in our mind and control our thoughts just simply through social pressure and propaganda. So I think that's a lot of it. Again, indoctrination's a real thing. I mean, they hit you from jump. Cartoons, there's balls and earth, and then you walk into kindergarten, there's a globe, boom, right there. I mean, they hit you so early that once you get indoctrinated, it takes a special kind of mug to be able to go, hey, 30 years of my complete world view and the way I see my entire existence just got turned upside down. Because what does flat earth mean? If it's real, man, think about the implications of that. NASA, right? All these rockets that we see flying up, that's all fake. It's completely fake. The implications, if flat earth's real, is huge. It shows that we're in a matrix. It shows that we're being controlled. It shows that the gig is up. I mean, once you believe in flat earth, it shows exactly, it kind of is a peek behind the curtain a little bit. And, for some people, that's a scary thought, man. Life is good. Life is good. People, have cushy lives and, life's hectic, but, everybody's got their family and their life. And, man, who needs the hectic crap of flat earth? And it's even hard to understand how it would matter. Like, what's that matter to me? Like, what do I care if the earth's flat? I mean, well, one, it shows that you're in a matrix. That's a pretty big thing right there. You're not just some random soul born in this random world that you just get to live your life. You're a free-range slave. You are literally a free-range slave. And that's a hard pill to swallow. As much as people fantasize that they take the red pill, most don't. They don't want no part of that red pill. They want to stay, dumb and happy. And that's I get it.
Well, these are the same people. And I listened to another podcast before this myself too. Like I'm pretty sure I went like over 20 videos before starting this and writing questions for you. There was one podcast.
They were all anti. I bet you they all had an anti-flat earth slant. I bet you.
Pretty much. I found like two of them that were very pro, but that was like most of them were very anti. And one of the ones that I hear a lot, and even this was like, really good political podcast and stuff, and like conspiracy theories podcast. And one of them they were always using was eclipses. They say that the eclipse proves that the earth is round and not flat. And I don't know, like to me, and this is just, I don't believe in, I'm not a believer personally that the earth is flat. I might have to look more before I, even get into it. Sure. But I kind of like look into it and it's like, eclipses kind of will still be an eclipse, even if the earth is flat. There's possibility. So do you think that an eclipse proves that the earth is flat, or does it prove that the earth is round?
So let me tell you this, man. The Mayans, 3,000 years before Christ. Okay, so that's what? 5,000 years ago. Okay. Now you had told me that you thought the earliest mentions of round Earth were about 400 BC, right? Is that right?
Yeah, my research said the 5th century, so pretty much like 500
so
BC.
Go back 2,500 more years to the Mayan civilization, the Mayan calendar. The Mayans were amazing astrologers. They actually had the sky mapped out. They had eclipses completely predicted. Eclipses happen on an 18-year cycle. And that's how they're predicted. They're not really predicted using any kind of, globe math. It's really just they run in cycles. And those were predicted and written by the Mayans. And do you know the Mayans actually believed that the Earth was flat and was non-movable in the center of the universe? So if eclipses prove a ball Earth, I would like to understand how the Mayans, who believed in a flat Earth, a fixed, non-movable Earth, and the stars in the sky moved around them, how they were able to, predict these eclipses using, just the repeated cycle. So, I don't think eclipses, they certainly don't prove a ball Earth. I think that, there's a lot of things that we don't know. There's a lot of things that we don't understand. If they control the narrative and they control the information, then, we're really just out here and we all go through school and we all learn the same thing. And I think it's kind of interesting that school, right, kindergarten through 12th grade, is the only thing that's really free. Like, not only is it free, it's mandatory. They force you to go to school. It's not an education; it's an indoctrination, is what it is. And I got to tell you, I forgot the original question. What were you asking me about? I kind of got off there.
So the original question was, do eclipses prove the Earth?
Yeah, eclipses. I'm sorry. I got off on eclipses. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think eclipses. So the issue, like I was saying, is that there's a lot of information we don't know, and there's a lot of black sun and dark, non-glowing celestial bodies is a real possibility. I don't think that eclipses, I know how that could be argued, but listen, I can pull up 13 videos, saved within minutes about how, eclipses, have nothing to do with ball Earth at all. Sundials, if you really think about it, you get a sundial and you try and make that work on a ball Earth, good luck. But if you put a flashlight above a sundial, it works. It makes sense. Little things like that you may never think about. All the evidence I've ever seen really, really points toward a flat Earth, to be honest. It takes a lot of research and in-depth studying to understand it, and I don't certainly understand everything. But I certainly know enough to know we're not, spinning 1,000 miles an hour and then hurling around the sun at the exact same time at 66,000 miles an hour, and then expanding through the universe at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I know that's not happening.
Yes, that is a lot to take on there. You're really putting me. I'm gonna sit tonight and probably start doing some research. And myself, I'm gonna look at more videos and try to find videos that are for flat Earth.
Good luck.
I will text you to send me a good amount of those for sure.
Listen, I'll tell you where you want to get started. Honestly, remember you mentioned Flat Earth Dave?
Yes.
Flat Earth Dave has an app, and I think it's called the Flat Earth Clock and Zodiac or something like that. But that's a good app because it's got a lot of good videos, and it's got an education section where you can just go in and look at all the different videos. And it's not the propaganda, it's information. Not that you have to buy it, but it's just an alternative viewpoint to at least consider.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a look at that. And with that, I actually talking about, you mentioned, how it goes around and like, rotates and stuff about the Earth. The International Space Station, like, they say that it has gone around the globe, and they have like, or what at least they call proof. What do you think like of that? Do you think that's like made up? Like some people claim like, the moon landing was made up. Do you think that like the International Space Station videos and all that's made up by the government? And I mean, if it is made up by the government, it's like, how are they finding the money to make such an expensive situation? Like, this is not it's something that will cost. This is not a $5 editing that you can make at home. No, you need to do a lot of CGI and like, or maybe like even use AI tech, which is now becoming more normal and normalized than what it was before. So how do you think they're like making this happen without making it look like it's fake?
Yeah. Well, listen, have you ever seen the movie Avatar?
I've seen quite a little bit of Avatar. I haven't like seen the new ones, mostly the older ones.
Like with the blue, I'm talking about with the blue people.
Yes, like they long hair, like dark hair, blue guys. There's like two guys from like the regular world joined this. I don't know if it's a simulation of another world or
driving. They're like riding around a flying horse or something, right?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, man. Have you ever seen a movie that just had this amazing special effects and just blew you away and you thought, oh my gosh, how is that even possible? Well, NASA, do you know NASA's budget?
Like yearly budget or like
sure.
Last time I checked, their yearly budget was probably a little bit over like the 7 to 8 billion. Am I still like? I don't know if I'm still like.
It's 27 billion, which is about 65 million a day.
Wow, that's impressive.
So,
holy shit.
So that's what pays for everything. Every year, by the way, every year they're getting billions. Okay, and here's the thing: if you have to really care a lot. I mean, most people, they're not even going to care. But if you went and you researched, let's say NASA fails, International Space Station, ISS fails, you'll see these leaked videos that show where it's, NASA has a huge pool with a complete scale replica of the International Space Station in it. And it's where they do their training. And basically, there is a lot of leaked footage of this stuff showing the pool with green screen with space implanted back. There's kinds of fails where, like, when they're in the space station, they'll drop something and it'll fall. There's videos where you can see the straps. I mean, there's so many. There's lots of videos where there's bubbles going by, or mice in space on the outside of a rocket. Like, there's all these videos out there that you can find that actually, again, it's kind of a peek behind the curtain. Like, CNN is not going to grab these videos and show them to you. It's just not going to happen. And you probably won't run into these videos because you're not looking. I'm running into these videos because I'm looking. And so it reinforces my belief when I see that, they're faking it. They're faking. That's really the blunt of it. And that's what I'm saying when it comes down to, you buy into flat earth and you realize that it's not just some, small corruption in local government or, people in Washington, with their special interests and, their corruption. It's much bigger. It's much bigger. And it's scary. It's a scary thing. But the videos that you can find of ISIS completely being faked it's shocking. There's a lot of inside, outside. There's tons of it. Now again, on YouTube, that is it's a censored site, and you might be able to find something there. But BitChute is another source. I believe that that's not completely open, but you can find a lot more of the YouTube censored videos there.
So with that, I did want to ask, I don't know if recruitment is the right term for like getting people involved, but how would you start a conversation to get someone involved, like into, or at least like get them to put that seed of belief, like maybe so they can do their own research, or just introduce this idea to them? How would you like do something like that?
Yeah. So I tell you, I used to a lot more often, because I could tell somebody, hey, go research, and they would be able to go and actually get real information and kind of decide if they even wanted to, which I imagine most times they didn't. But today, I cannot tell someone to go research flat Earth, because they'll run into what's designed for that purpose. So they know that if I said, hey, go research flat Earth, you're going to go to YouTube and you're going to type it in, and you're going to be doubtful, but you're like, well, he said, let me just check it out. And sure enough, here comes a video that says, why do these crazy flat earthers believe in flat Earth? And they'll basically say, hey, it's not a crazy idea, but it's a crazy idea. And they're designed to basically take your weak little layup and smack it across the gym floor. Get out of here. And you go 2-3 minutes of that, and you go, oh, I knew it was crazy. I knew it was crazy. And you walk away. What do you care? You don't want that. You're just not that curious. You don't care. It doesn't affect your life. So, it's one of those things where, you just got to kind of, I enjoy the conversation. So it depends on the person, right? Some people, if they're going to just be completely closed-minded, I don't have any interest. I'm not going to just punch a brick wall 15 times. I don't care. I don't care that much. Stay ignorant. I don't care. But if someone's at least, and you know what? Most times that people entertain me and act like they're like, they really in the back of their mind think I'm crazy as the day is long, and that's okay. I don't mind that, because I have confidence in myself and my beliefs, and just like the Big Bang. I mean, I knew the Big Bang was not real, and I wasn't coming from a religious aspect. It wasn't like. Speaking of that one, let me tell you this. This is going to be crazy. I went to church as a young kid, right? And I would say as a young child, I believed in God. But very quickly as a teenager, late teenager, 18 maybe at the latest, I had doubts, and I thought, I don't know if I buy this whole religious thing for many reasons, right? And I said to myself, I'm not going to play around and pretend like I like God and I believe just to be safe, right? Because if God's real, he's going to know that. Am I going to go in front of him and say, I believe? And he's going to say, no, you didn't. So I said, you know what? If I don't believe it, I'm walking away from it. I'm done with it. And I did that for 25 years, 20 years, something like that. And I would have called myself an agnostic, meaning I didn't know, and I don't even know that I was cared. I was okay now. I certainly didn't believe the religious story, the narrative of like the whole, I guess it depends on what religion, but any of them. But once I found flat Earth, it made me question everything. It made me question everything, re-question everything, I should say. And so, I actually have, through flat Earth, have come to believe that we were actually created and put here on this earth by something or someone. I'm not saying it's God. I don't know what. It could be an alien experimenting. I don't know what it is. But I've come to believe something or someone, in fact, did create us. That came through flat Earth. I'm not religious. But I do have a core belief that we were created. And I never did. I just thought you might find that interesting.
that is interesting. Coming to like, with this topic is very interesting. From that the flat Earth topic, coming to that, and then like going back to like, wow, this is like flat Earth was created, and there's also like the humanity was created with a flat Earth, pretty much. So it's like it's very interesting to hear that and see how those two connect with each other. I wouldn't myself make a connection between, but that's quite interesting. You're putting so much interest in my head right now that I'm for sure absolutely going to do a lot of look up and reading on this personally, because I'm like, wow, this is a lot that I would absolutely love to like learn more for sure. Because as I mentioned, like I have a whole like phantom time like theory. I believe in the phantom time theory, and people come like, you crazy fuck.
What is that? What is that?
So the phantom time theory theorized that that was 300 years of history were completely erased. Like those 300 years were not counted for and were added there. So those 300 years don't exist. And we are not living in the 21st century, or like, we're not living in the 2000s. We're pretty much still in the pretty much like kind of 1800-ish like years. But we kind of added history to our history to make it look more advanced. And that's pretty much like there's some years taken away from what we believe in. And there's so much proof to it, but it's like flat Earth. There's so much proof to it, but the regular, like everyday person would tell you it's bullshit because that's what they want to believe. And that's what they believe. And I mean, I told you, like, if you go to the internet, you can find a lot of videos about the like phantom time theory, but there's people trashing it, and there's some like documentaries about it and tell you, oh, like this is what it is, and then they go like at the end, but it's bullshit. So it's like they tell you the whole thing, but then they go, but it's bullshit. Like this was created by some guy who like, and I mean the guy is still alive and he's still like preaching like how he still believes, and he talks to people, which is impressive, but people just don't believe it, which is again like flat Earth.
Yep. Yeah. If you're outside of the mainstream narrative, forget it, man. Forget it. The world has no time for it. It's we look to authorities. And listen, it's just how it is. We go to school, they teach us authority. The doctors, they wear the white coats. They don't wear the white coats because they're in a lab or they're protecting their clothes. They wear those white clothes, that white robe to, in our minds, signify authority. I'm an authority figure. You need to listen to me. It's so subtle. All through our lives, we are just completely controlled. And, something like flat Earth, I'm so fortunate that I found it. I'm fortunate that I found it in the golden age of it wasn't being censored, so I was able to learn a lot and actually have time to really understand it. And it has really changed my life in the sense that I realize now what kind of world we really live in. Once you realize that, it's free. I mean, in the sense that, I understand the reality, and what we're shown is just completely, and this is going to sound crazy to the average person living their life, driving their Nissan Rogue and, getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning to go to work and soccer practice after school. And, the idea that I'm saying we live in a matrix sounds crazy, but listen, man, I can only take my brain where the evidence takes me. I'm open to it. Lead me to the truth. I'm not out here trying to convince anybody it's flat Earth. I'm out here trying to find a reality. That's what I'm trying to do. And so far, it's flat Earth. It's just a reality. And I understand how that would, sound. Because that was me. I would have thought it was crazy too. But here we are, and the Big Bang has been proven wrong, and that's a whole new world. Maybe we're set for a revival of flat earthers. Who knows?
So with that, I wanted to ask, and I think you kind of like fast explained this in the beginning, but how do you became a flat earther? Like, can you give me, I don't know, like not the short version, maybe not like the whole, like, maybe if it's more than 1 hour version, not, but like a good lengthy version and tells me a little bit, like with some details, how did it happen? Like, did someone told you? Did you just find it yourself? Were you like, how were you before you learn it, and how are you now that you like know about it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. It was at a time where I was breaking up with a friend. Okay. Meaning, like, not like an official breakup. I mean, we weren't in a relationship, but we were friends, and there was a situation that caused a rift where we basically stopped being friends. Okay, and it was a very painful time, and because we had been very good friends for a number of years, and some stuff happened that basically ended the friendship. And it was a very painful time. So it sent me to YouTube. It is a situation where I found myself with a lot more time on my hands. And so I started to go to YouTube, not for flat earth, but for entertainment, distraction, right? Pass the time. And I believe the very first video that I seen was, it was called 200 Proofs That the World is Flat. And it was, I believe it's Eric Dubay. And he still makes videos. And it literally went through 200 reasons that showed the 200 proofs, right? Like, for example, somebody ran a laser beyond where the curve should have been, and yet they picked up the laser and seen it, for example. That would be considered a proof of a flat earth, right? It goes against the ball Earth model, proving the flat earth. So I saw this 200 proofs, and excuse me. And so that was really the start. I started to, at the time, there was a ridiculous amount of people, just YouTubers, average people throughout the world that had discovered this and were doing experiments and were showing that the moonlight cools. It doesn't heat, right? You know how we learned reflected moonlight is sunlight. So the idea is that if it's reflected sunlight, it's gonna have the same properties, and it's gonna heat, right? If I took a mirror and reflected a heat lamp off of it, over here it's still gonna be hot. If you go downtown to a building that's all glass during the midday and the sun's reflecting off of that skyscraper, the windows, and it's hitting you, it's hot. But the moonlight cools. In other words, if you go into the shade, you get warmer at night. Now, they were showing videos. They were showing the videos, right? You ain't going to find that video on YouTube today. You're not going to find it. So I would go out. I would see this. I'm like, well, let me go try it. And then I would go out and I would say, geez, the moonlight cools. So it was just a series of proofs, a series of bits of information that would make more and more sense. And so I slowly started to really believe that the earth is flat. And, it happened over a period of, let's say, a couple months. It didn't take long. I didn't go into it from the perspective, I'm proving this wrong. So a lot of people, that's exactly how they start to believe in flat earth, is that they're gonna actually go and prove it themselves, determine and they ultimately a good deal ultimately will turn into flat earthers once they look at the evidence. I was just more open-minded, and you know how YouTube is. Or was, when you watch one topic, the suggested videos is the same topic. So there were thousands of videos online of people talking about flat earth and doing flat earth experiments. And you just had this environment where it was just a ton of information. And so I was very lucky in that sense. And, you know, I was pretty open about it from the start. I was not embarrassed to say, I believe the earth is flat. And a lot of times, in fact, it was right after I got divorced. When I started dating, I told the girls right away, hey, listen, there's something really weird about me. I believe in a flat earth. And I wouldn't say that right away. You know, they had to have a little time to get to know me. But it was one of the first things I disclosed. I didn't want any kind of, you know, bait and switch. And so that's been about 7-8 years now. And I believe as wholeheartedly today, if not more so, than I did, you know, 7-8 years ago.
Did telling someone, this is, you know, completely off the questions that I have in my script, but did ever telling someone, do you believe in the flat earth, did that like cause any problems in relationships in the past? Like, did anybody look at it and were like, what the hell? Like, that's just weird, or...
No, I'm so charming with it, and they overlooked it. No, listen, I guarantee you, every single person I told you to, I promise you, it's such a, I mean, listen, nobody told me that, but I promise you they thought that. And I know that, right? I know that. I was getting it out of the way, is what I was doing. I was getting it out of the way. If that was going to be offensive, that's my reality, then we're not going to work out. You know, so it was partly just a disclosure, and it was partly a, you know, kind of a checkpoint to see if, you know, that we'd be a good match. But I guarantee you, everybody thinks it's crazy.
All right, I think I'm coming to the end of my script. This is like my last question. Like, do you want to add anything to what we have like spoken to today here? Like, you know, talked, and do you have anything that I haven't asked you want to add to this conversation?
Well, I mean, I don't really come from any perspective, right? I'm not compensated. I was telling you about Flat Earth Dave's app. I'm not compensated by recommending that. I don't make any money. I don't benefit in any way, but it is a good source of videos. They have a resource section where it'll say like eclipses, right? It'll say, what about eclipses? Where does the sun go? What about tides? And it's all these different topics. I would say there's 35, 40 topics. And then you hit the topic and it pulls up 20 good videos that will describe that talk about that topic. So I would just tell you this: if you have any interest, or you know, in either proving Flat Earth wrong, or if I've tickled your interest and you want to look into it more from an interested perspective, I would tell you, you know, one good place to go is the Flat Earth Dave app, and you can get it at any app store. I think it's called the Flat Earth Time Clock, something like that. But I'm sure if you put it in, you'll find it. And again, I promote that just because I think it's a good resource for people that maybe are curious or maybe do want to look it up for any reason. I mean, that's the only place you're going to find these videos. Otherwise, you're going to get nothing but propaganda designed to push you right back into society. Other than that, I would say a lot of the question comes down to, you know, why? Why would they lie? It doesn't make any sense. Why would they lie? And, you know, to tell you the truth, you know, I don't know that I have that answer, but I can think of a couple good possibilities, okay? One is to hide creation. You know, one is to hide the idea that we were created. I mean, if we can, you know, become this, you know, small, insignificant nothingness that's random and completely just by chance hurling through space there's really no reason to believe in creation. And again, I'm not saying creation from a religious aspect. That's not how I think of creation. I'm talking the literal event of being put here. And then the other thing is, we believe, generally speaking, in society and are taught in an endless space, right? I mean, we're going 186,000 miles an hour, hurling through the universe, and we've been doing it endlessly, and we can do it forever, right? Space is endless; it's forever. But what if land is forever, right? What if hold on, I got a kitty over here making noise. But what if you have the flat Earth here, and then beyond the flat Earth, there's more land, there's more space, outer space, more land. If we're told we're on this, never-ending plane, I guarantee there's a couple of young men that want to strap up and go investigate and explore. And the Ball Earth model destroys that idea. There's nowhere to go. It's already been explored. When I was in school, that was the idea in elementary school. It's, you want to be an explorer? It's too late. It's too late. Everything's been discovered. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Jim Carrey movie, where he's in the kind of the planetarium and everybody knows that it's fake except him. Did you ever see that movie?
I have not, but I will have to look at that. I'll look at the description on Google tonight. Give it a little watch.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. He, I guess if you haven't seen the movie, it's hard to describe it, but it's a very similar thing. He was told that everything's been explored, and it's kind of a parallel of our real world. So, I would just say I get the idea. Sounds crazy, but if you research it, you might find some of it makes sense actually.
Yeah, and to add here, the app you were talking, I got a chance to look it up. It's a Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock. It has all the information. Like I'm looking over here. It's a $2.99 app, but I mean, if you really want to look into it,
dude, it seems
like it seems like it has a lot of valuable information for what I'm seeing, and just from the screenshots of the app. So it's actually explaining to me how the sun rotates.
Yeah. No, a lot of good information. The seasons. When I learned about flat Earth, the whole idea of the seasons clicked, right? Like, oh yeah, that's how it makes sense. Because to be honest, before flat Earth, I don't know that I could have fully described the seasons or what. And I understand it's the tilt and all that, but for it to really click in my head and to visualize it and see it, it wasn't there, right? I had the information they gave me, but the real understanding of it wasn't there. When I learned about flat Earth, clicked. The Arctic midnight sun, I didn't understand that. Once I learned about flat Earth, clicked. I got it. Oh, yes, I see how that happens. Makes sense. I see how seasons happen. I see how day and night happens. It all, if you're open to the information, it's mind-blowing, and it'll wake you up to the matrix we live in, to be honest, which is maybe why it's propagandized against so heavily. And there's such a movement by mainstream to kill flat Earth, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's actually this. I think this episode specifically has been more informational for me than it was gonna be informational for many people that listen, but it's absolutely for me has been informational, since I have never sit with someone who actually I have friends who believe in flat Earth, but they have never sat with me and talk about we have been talking for about an hour, and they have never sat with me and talked for more than 5 minutes. They say, oh yeah, I just believe in it, and they don't go the next level to explain why they believe in it specifically. I think it's a really good concept to maybe always I don't know, like if you want to go with everybody, oh yeah, this is why I believe, and then feel like okay, they just went through one ear, came through the other. But I feel that maybe like just showing to some people, I think my friends would have told me a little bit more. I was like, okay, now I understand. But now, like now I understand why they believe in flat Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to be honest, I thought we were going to get into more of the proofs. I anticipate. Again, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. Like I just, I figured we'd take it conversationally and go where it goes. But really, you haven't even gotten any of the flat Earth proofs yet. This is all just conceptual, information and the whys but listen, when you start looking at the actual reality of our world and a lot of it's visual perception and there's also a lot of like where things look a certain way but they're not really that way, like how the sun kind of dips below the horizon. When you actually learn what's going on in our world, it's very easy to believe in flat Earth, and unfortunately most people just don't even give it the time of day. And so I'm just trying to normalize it, and I'm not going to hide in the closet. I have enough confidence in the flat Earth theory that I'm willing to accept the social implications of what that means. And one day, maybe I'll make a difference in somebody and waking them up. That's the only thing that really, would matter to me, is just helping society, my fellow human beings who are trapped in this free-range slave matrix, to get an understanding of what's going on. I don't care. I'll take that just to help out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will absolutely be interested in making a part 2 of this episode specifically, like, with the proven stuff. I think maybe it'll be more like, instead of me asking you questions, I think it'll be more like you sharing the whole thing in the future, and like also add it to like, part 2 to this, because I think it'll be interesting for people, like for listeners to like know a little more, and like not just know a little bit of like why you believe, but also like the proof that you have to believe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'd be very interested in coming back. I'd be open to whatever, right? I'm open to whatever.
Yeah, I think with that, I don't know. We talked about a whole hour of flat Earth here, so I'm gonna conclude with this one, so I don't have like a 2-hour episode to edit, since I have to edit one already. Anything you want to add before I finish the recording and stuff?
That was
the added to it. So we'll leave it there. We will be eventually. Chad will be coming back with more to this podcast, and until then, we'll have this episode and some more up soon. So
thanks so much, Juan. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.